So we are coming to the end of this very long chapter about how to master any subject. By now, you must be very familiar with the idea of the four brain learning approach. In this section, I want to answer a very pertinent question. How does learning occur in terms of neurology or psychology or brain wiring? I don't know if there is any subject that is related exactly to the answer that I'm going to give here, but my answer borrows from these subjects. Then some of my answers don't belong anywhere. However, just because some current subjects can't corroborate my answers doesn't mean that they are wrong. They make logical sense. So let me provide you my answer. The modern education system thinks that learning occurs by hearing teachers speak on a topic. Then the student would practice using pen and paper. Then something would happen in the brain that would create learning. After repeating this process for many times, the student would become a master. My answer about how learning occurs adds on to this explanation and assumption of modern education. By hearing the teachers or watching a related video or reading a book, some kind of brain electricity must be produced. This leads to some kind of wiring between the various neurons of the brain. This wiring could be temporary or permanent. In the four brain learning approach, this wiring of the neurons would happen distinctively in the four areas of the brain, namely the lower left brain, the lower right brain, the upper left brain, and the upper right brain. If the student is able to hear teachings that resonate with a corresponding brain quadrant, then there would be wiring and rewiring of neurons with regards to that subject with this brain quadrant. For example, if the student is presented with teachings that relate to the daily application of the subject, then the lower right brain quadrant or the information brain quadrant will resonate. This will cause a longer wire connecting the subject. Similarly, if the teachings are about the overall picture or map of the subject, then it will activate the upper left brain quadrant or the knowledge brain quadrant. Same as before, resonance would occur there, and there would be a long wire connecting that subject. You can extrapolate that the same extension of the wire of neurons with regard to that subject will occur in the upper right brain if metaphors are used to explain the subject. Our current education system is giving teachings only on the data and various activities and rules of a subject, and that is causing resonation in the lower left or the skill brain quadrant. In this way, the student is able to acquire basic skills which are needed in order to obtain higher skills or even to understand the information, the knowledge, and the wisdom. The problem occurs when the data and tasks provided become boring to the student. The assumption of the current education system is that we only have one brain quadrant, which is the skill brain quadrant, that is responsible for learning. Up till now, you must be convinced that it is not true. Some of us are indeed predominated by the skill brain quadrant, while others, probably three-fourths of the population, are predominated by the other three brain quadrants. So what happens is that the firing of the neurons stop occurring after a basic level of skills are attained, like reading and basic mathematical operations. After a certain level of skills is reached, the other three brain quadrants of the students become active in their natural state. Without stimulating them and extending the wires of neurons across the predominant brain quadrant other than the skill brain quadrant of the student, learning is stalled. Whatever the teacher explains in terms of data, operators, rules, formulas, do not create any form of wiring in the corresponding skill brain quadrant. And that is why the student cannot pass the exams, let alone stay quietly and listen to the lecture. However, teachers and the educational system as a whole is unaware and happily ignorant about this four brain learning approach. Accepting the possibility of such a wild theory that is neither based on neuroscience of today or psychology or even spirituality would cause their foundation to shake too much. It would require the reschooling of teachers, principals, deans, vice principal, vice chancellors, and so on. Nobody is willing to go that far. However, from my counseling sessions, I have come to the conclusion that we don't need to go that far and destroy everything that we have had so far. What the education system we have today has done for the skill brain quadrant is marvelous. What we need to do is add the other three brain quadrant teachings. You can use this book as a starting point. How would it work? How would learning happen after reading this book or teaching your students using the knowledge of this book? Let me answer. The mind is not only about the conscious aspect. When you challenge a student and offer a teaching in, let's say, the knowledge brain quadrant, then the wiring happens automatically and it expands on itself. The student will start doing his own research because it is the way he prefers to learn. He knows it now, but he did not know it before. He will sit in class, learn the lessons, make the college or school happy by passing and getting high grades. However, the wiring in him has changed because he was taught the four-brain learning approach. Something alien in him is growing, transforming him. A spark, a star, magic dust, whatever you want to call it, is expanding in his brain. It is helping him to see his studies in the way he was supposed to see them. That is, based on his predominant brain dominance quadrant. This will lead him to develop different habits of studying. He'll go through a process of self-discovery. For the first time, he will feel comfortable with himself and his brain and his learning style. For the first time, he will stop feeling like a loser. For the first time, he will realize that he too can make it on top of whatever field he chooses. The unconscious mind must be harnessed, and that is best done with the teachings of this book. Many times we sleep with a certain problem in our minds, and the next day we tend to get the solution. Now, this is the subconscious mind working. I will not talk more about this vague topic because I don't know where to reference my ideas Exactly. But I do know that it works for me and all the students that I have coached in the four brain learning approach. Hoping that one day a science will develop that will be able to explain the phenomenon that I have described. I urge you to give the four brain learning approach a try in order to master any subject.